Okay, here we go, friends, with the Future Forecast podcast. We're going to talk tonight about mental health, how it relates to some of the remote viewing work and just intuitive practices in general. And I have my good friend Dick Allgire on the line with me. We both have some experiences we'll share and just have a conversation for those of you that might be dealing with some mental health things out there in the world. Know that you're not alone and that we all go through it and we do deal with it. So, Dick, how are you, my friend? Good to have you on the show.
I'm good. I'll tell you a story that happened to me in, I think it was 2006. I was working at KITV, the ABC affiliate, and it was about 2 in the afternoon. I was writing a story and I started feeling like I think I drank a Diet Pepsi for lunch. And I was like, man, that made my heart kind of race.
Mhm.
I'm feeling a little jittery. And then I got more than a little jittery. I felt, geez, I feel like I'm overdosed on speed or something. What did I take? Have I been
Mhm.
drugged? And I got real uncomfortable. I was in the newsroom under pressure. I walked to the bathroom. I put some cold water on my face. I'm walking and I just felt really poorly. And one of the producers looked at me and said, Dick, you're really pale. You don't look good. Are you okay? And I said, not really. And then they kind of kept an eye on me and said, man, you look really bad. I don't feel good. And they said, do you need to go to the hospital? I said, maybe I do. And so they took me up, and this producer drove me. There was a hospital just a couple blocks away. And I went in the emergency room and I was having trouble breathing and my body was getting numb. And they said, there was a sign that said, let us know if you're having difficulty breathing, numbness. I said, that's me. And they took me in and they started checking my vitals. And
Yeah.
the next thing I know, they're calling like a code. They're like ripping my suit, putting electrodes on me, going, you're in good hands, don't worry. And they thought I was having a heart attack, but I was
Oh
a
my goodness.
vegetarian in shape,
Yeah.
good blood pressure.
Avid swimmer.
And I
Yeah.
was I was having a panic attack.
Wow.
And so then they told me, oh, you're having a panic attack. And I got sent to a doctor for a follow-up, and I had a few more. And the
Hmm.
doctor said, well, yeah, you have panic attacks. I go, how is this possible? I'm not,
Yeah.
this can't be possible. I'm not some girl who's afraid of mice that panics.
Right. I think that's
And
important, an important distinction to state too, Dick, that explaining what a panic attack is.
I think a panic attack is your body produces some chemical that makes your
Hmm.
whole neuro system go
Yeah.
haywire.
Yes.
You, it's, it's the most frightening thing. You think you're going to drop dead in 30
Hmm.
seconds.
Yeah. It has nothing to do with your ability to tolerate fear. Like I've been in a lot of very dangerous, scary situations.
Yeah.
I usually get panic attacks at night. In the middle of the night, I'll wake up with it,
Yeah.
and I'm not having a flashback. I'm not having a dream. It's just a physiological response. And I have
Yeah.
to say, thanks to meditation, I'm able to, in my mind, stay calm through it. And my body goes through it. And it feels like my heart's racing, my head's pounding, I'm
Well,
sweating. You have this response, but you're fine. But your body's having this reaction as if you're in some kind of, fight or flight.
so I go see the doctor. This was back in the mid 2000s. The doctor says, well, we got to put you on some medication.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they gave me Xanax. I didn't take it. So I'm not taking that. And they gave me Paxil, which is like SSRI antidepressant.
Mm-hmm.
I said, I'm not taking that. I go, how long do I have to take this? She goes, most people stay on it for the rest of their lives. Excuse me?
Wow.
And it got so bad, I was having some panic attacks where so I took like half. So I started taking Paxil, which I
Mm-hmm.
am vehemently opposed to. And then what I did was I changed my lifestyle. I like stopped drinking,
Mm-hmm.
exercised more, changed my diet. No diet soda, no aspartame.
Mm-hmm.
I was eating, I think, aspartame candy. I thought, yeah, this aspartame's, I think that had
Right.
something to do with it. I got all that out. And if I was getting a panic attack, I would just say, bring it on. Give me your
Yeah.
best. I know,
Yeah.
I know I'm not going to die. I know I'm going to be
Mm-hmm.
uncomfortable. Okay. And I eventually wasn't getting them anymore. It was okay.
Yeah.
Then COVID hit, and I went to Belize,
Mm-hmm.
and Amy and I got locked down in Belize. We were in Belize in a bad neighborhood. You
Mm-hmm.
couldn't travel to the better part of the country, to different districts. We were in a really bad situation, and the border was locked. There were no planes. You
Yeah.
couldn't go home. We didn't know when, if ever, like don't know. Can't
Yeah.
travel. They had a curfew. You couldn't go out after dark.
Yep.
We were locked
Yeah.
in this place. And so I was watching a movie on Netflix with my wife, and I was hooking the computer up, and it hit me like, oh, oh. And she goes, "You don't look good." I said, "Oh, man, I'm having a panic attack." And I started getting them every day, all day, like
I remember.
5 or 6 a day. Just
Mm-hmm.
couldn't couldn't sit at the computer, and came home, and it was so bad. And I think part of it is uh, I was told the basics of what was going to happen with COVID
Mm-hmm.
9 months before it happened.
Yeah. We sat. I remember those conversations. Yeah.
And so that freaked me out. Like,
Mm-hmm.
oh my God, this can be planned. This is like, it just was too much for me. Like, we
Mm-hmm.
got back from Belize, I kissed the ground in Hawaii,
Yeah.
and I was still having a really hard time functioning. And I had such a bad panic attack one day in Belize. Like, my wife was almost hysterical. Like, I'm dying. She goes, there's no doctors here to take you to. If we were home, I could take you to your own doctor. And,
Right.
and they gave me alprazolam, Xanax.
Mm-hmm.
God, I didn't want to take that. So I was just freaking out, man. And I just said, I took half a Xanax. In 10 minutes, I was like, it's a beautiful day, man. This is
Yeah.
great. I feel
Yeah.
wonderful.
Yeah.
And so, and then I I started relying on that. Then I got home, and I was still taking it, not very much, but pretty regularly. And then they put me on another one, uh, mirtazapine, which is
Mm-hmm.
not a benzodiazepine, but it's not an SSRI, but it's antidepressant. So it helped me
Mm-hmm.
sleep. I'm taking both these things, and I just kind of got into it, and I was doing my work, I was functioning, but here I was with like medication bottles, writing down like, what time do I take this and take this. And I go, man, this is no way to live.
Yeah.
So I weaned myself off the Xanax. I took
Mm-hmm.
instead of a half, I took a quarter. Instead of
Yeah.
taking it, I'd wait 4 hours. I can go 4 hours. And then I got to
Yeah.
where I was a quarter of one in the afternoon. And then I
Mm-hmm.
just said, I read some literature and watched a documentary on it. That stuff's really hard to get off. The
Yeah.
pharmaceutical industry gets you on these things, and they just want you as a lifetime customer. So
Yeah.
I stopped that, and then I stopped the other one. So I'm off that. I also quit drinking I was drinking wine up until COVID.
Yeah.
So I think basically what I'm trying to say is I think remote viewing is destabilizing. And I think that the amount of work I'm doing and the pressure I'm under does take a toll on me. And
Mm-hmm.
I think that knowing what we know about what we're going through, humanity is going through a big change right now. It's
Yeah.
coming no matter what.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And now I know you've had some problems. I don't have the stress of 3 young kids and
Yeah.
worrying about inflation. Like, can we make rent today? Can we
Yeah.
afford the kids' clothes? I can't
It's
imagine what that would be
it's a
like.
lot. I mean, I remember when COVID hit, and you said this too, having sat in the conversations where it's like, hey, there's a couple of things that hey could happen, and with
Yeah.
COVID, the scenario was one of them. I remember watching it in Wuhan unfold and going, this is it. Like we'd get on the line
Yeah.
and we talk every week, and we'd be getting more and more nervous about it. And then when they said I was at school that we were going on lockdown, I remember just inside, everybody else is like, "Oh, what are we gonna be home for a week?" And inside, I'm going, "No, like this is
This
it.
is
Like this
bad.
is this." And that was, so I had a pretty big breakdown during that process, and it wasn't because really of what was happening. It was the realization of like I was told about this a long time ago, and here it comes. And some of it was through psychic data that we were getting, the
Yeah.
remote viewing data that was coming in.
I
Um,
remember one conversation that we had. I was in Belize. I had just gotten
yeah.
there and they had just locked us down. And I realized, oh my God, I'm trapped here. And
Hmm.
we were having a conversation, you, me, Daz, and Edward.
Yeah.
And it was so heavy. Like, they've locked us down. This is
Yeah.
like, is this going to be the end of our civilization?
Yeah.
And I remember my blood actually felt like it went cold. My blood ran
Yep.
cold. I had that
Yeah.
chilling. It was it, and I went, "Oh my God, this is real. This is like the end of this. Is nothing's ever going to be the same.
Yeah. It was
We're
really
running for our
scary.
lives." It was but it was designed to do that to us.
Yep. Yeah, it was. It really broke us down. I remember we would do our session. We do a great session, a great debrief, and afterwards we would always talk. And we were just so like so defeated. We were just so
Yeah,
exhausted. The Daz's highlight of the day was he's like every night we hang out our windows and we clap for the medical professionals. That was like the big highlight of his day because they couldn't leave the
yeah.
house in the UK. I mean, it was just really hard times. And for me personally, not only having a family, I work for a school. I'm a dean at a school, and I'm in charge of safety and security. I've got 400 kids, 80 plus teachers, and dealing with all of that, just the stress. I mean, it gets to be too much at times, And I had a breakdown, a really bad breakdown.
So
Um,
I knew you were a teacher. You're in charge of safety and security at your school?
Yeah, I'm the dean of students, and then I'm in charge of safety and security, and then I also oversee some of
Oh,
our special needs programs as well, for our kids. I handle a lot of
oh,
that
so
stuff.
I just realized that every time there's a school shooting or a school lockdown somewhere, you must have thoughts go through your mind like, what if it, what if that must be really hard
I
on you.
I do. I've worked. For those of you that are not familiar with my background, I'm a veteran.
Okay,
I'm
you
a
were in
former police
military
officer.
intelligence, you've been in
Yeah,
war zones, and you've been a police officer, so you've been in bad situations.
yeah,
Yeah,
and then when I started teaching, I actually started teaching in Southwest Philadelphia, and like it was the school. Like the ex cop walks in, the kids are like, "I'm gonna blow up your car. I'm gonna kill you. I'm gonna shoot," like all that. I went through all that stuff. Um, I work really hard when that stuff happens because everybody likes to panic when there's a school shooting. I work really hard to try to keep my community and my school very calm. Like, hey, this happened. This is horrible. It doesn't mean it's going to happen at our school today. But I'm very big on like, we're prepared. Let's train. Let's do our drills. Let's have all these different security things in check. All these, I'm big on prevention, supporting our mental health community within our school, working with parents, all these things, so we can feel safe. But it's scary when these things go on, and it does weigh on you over time.
but surely it's gone through your mind like, what if you're in the school and you hear screaming and bam bam
Mhm.
bam in the other, you've probably thought, what would I do? Could it happen? What would be
All
my
the
first
time.
move? Yeah,
Right. Well, not only that, at times people scream or somebody bangs a locker or something, and I jump, I run. I mean, people say all the
yeah.
time, like, "Oh, Dennis, you were just always moving." Because I'm just constantly zipping through, responding to things that I hear. And we have a 35-acre campus. It's a big wooded lot. So there's a lot of scary places where I work, but we do our best to really just keep that positive attitude. But yes, is it in my head? Yes. Does it get to me some days? Absolutely. How can it not? You know?
I was out in the parking lot of a remote viewing class. We were some of us talking with Glenn Wheaton, who was a Green Beret who was
Yeah.
in combat situations, and a car backfired.
Hmm.
His reaction was immediate, and just the way he
It's
reacted,
quick.
like the
Yeah.
look in his eye
Uh-huh.
was, he went on fully changed in 1/10 of a second. Yeah,
I always used to worry that I'm going to lose my edge as a soldier when I left the police department, that I'm going to lose that tactical awareness or that situational awareness. And
It's
it's those situations when you see like everything that you were going to do, and it's like, wow,
yeah,
it's still in there. Obviously, because I just overreacted to someone slamming a car door or something. But yeah, it kicks back in. Sometimes really
yeah.
hard.
Well, it's part of you now. So
Yeah,
anyway, if
and I'm
anybody's
thankful.
yeah, if anybody's listening, you've had panic attacks. We know how bad they are, but they're not going to kill you. I mean, it's the
Yeah,
most uncomfortable thing I can imagine. I can't
yeah,
imagine anything more uncomfortable. I've had migraine headaches and pain and
yeah,
heartache, a broken heart and sorrow. But man, a panic attack is
yeah.
that's a special kind of hell.
It's
But
hard.
yeah, I exercise, eat a good diet, try not to rely too much on if you do the medication, try to do the least amount and try to wean off of it
Yeah.
when you can. That would be
I'll
my,
say this, Dick. My journey. I have ADHD, um, and I guess about 6, 7 of those last spring. I don't take drugs. I don't even drink caffeine, and I started realizing that a lot of my anxiety, a lot of my stress, might be coming from the ADHD. I always figured, oh, I've got that managed. I was a soldier. I was a cop. I
yeah,
was disciplined. And one day I tried coffee, and all of a sudden my brain worked. Like I
really,
realized how badly, like how all over the place my thoughts were, and I realized all these from the ADHD, because it's the stimulant medication helps to regulate like your dopamine and stuff, and the caffeine has somewhat of an effect on that. And I went home and I cried because to realize how badly I've been suffering my whole life just because my thoughts don't work the way everybody
yeah.
else's does. And I end up
And
going
the
into a really
caffeine
bad
helped.
depression. It helped for a little bit, and then it stopped, and then my anxiety went through the roof, and I had a nervous breakdown. So I had to go on some medication. I had to go on something, an antidepressant, because I have high swings of like not quite like in a bipolar sense. Just when I'm up here, I'm way up here. When I'm down, I'm pretty low. So
Yeah,
I had to get regulated with that. And then I tried a couple different meds to try to regulate the ADHD. And the first one I tried, I think it was like Cymbalta. I was high for a week. I didn't get out of bed. I felt great, but I couldn't function. So I came off of that.
no,
And I'm on another med now that it, it it's working. My brain is working the way, like I'm a lot more efficient, a lot less stress, a lot less anxiety. I'm able to function, and it feels great. But then 2 days ago, I'm at work and I just got real dizzy. I was dealing with a kid in crisis, and I was like, "Whoa, I'm going to fall over." So I got him
mm,
stabilized, and I had to go to the nurse and lay down for an hour and a half, and my meds needed an adjustment. So it's not easy. I've never been a fan of medication, but
yeah.
it's helping me right now.
I think a lot of people are going through this in these times, and
Yes.
I wouldn't rule out the possibility that they may be
Yeah.
pumping electromagnetic shit into us to make us this way.
Yes. And those of us that are, I've heard it in our circles, those of us that are more sensitive are really feeling it. I mean, we've all had conversations about how we're dealing with different
Yeah.
things that we're feeling out there. Yeah, absolutely. I think we're very sensitive to it.
When
Um,
I remote view on a good day, if I'm if I'm remote viewing Elon Musk, I feel how he feels. When I was
yeah.
Napoleon, I
Hmm.
knew how he he hated the Cossacks,
Yeah. Yeah, I
he
remember that.
wanted
Yeah.
he loved mowing down Cossacks with cannons, and
Hmm.
I at that moment I felt that way. So yeah, we do these remote viewings, and you a successful remote viewing is an emulation. You're
Hmm.
emulating the target, so
Yeah.
you're vibrating at that frequency. And
Hmm.
I'm not, I still wonder how good is this for you, like to do all the time. It's
Yeah.
it's why we need to have a good team and have
Hmm.
talks like this.
Yes.
I mean, this is you and I are helping each other in therapy, and
Right.
uh we should bring all the viewers in sometime because I know all the viewers have had issues.
Yeah.
Daz has had
Yeah.
some health issues.
Mm-hmm.
Edward, I thought, was the rock of stability during
Mm-hmm.
COVID. Like he was, I'm not going to let it bother me. I'm just doing my own thing. And then I heard he was having some problems too. I
Yeah,
don't
he
want
has
to
some challenges.
give anybody's secrets away, but
Right.
it's we're in a remote viewing is a high intensity endeavor. It's a high
Yeah.
intensity thing, and it's what makes you think you can go perceive things across time and space. Oh, but we do. Well, what does that do to your
Yeah.
brain? I don't
Yeah.
know. So maybe not something good. So,
It's I think it's a double-edged sword because learning, like I'm very empathic. My whole life I have been. So I really like I walk in a room and I start taking on everybody's emotions and energy, and it works great when you're doing an interview or an interrogation. Like you're really feeling through people, what they're hiding and stuff. But you take that on, and if you don't have a way to discharge that, it really can affect your health. And I think remote viewing, a similar thing happens. But what I like about remote viewing is it has taught me to have better control over saying like, okay, my session's done. I'm turning this off now. It's given me a lot more control over at least being able to shut it off and be focused on like grounding and shedding it. But it still weighs on you. It still weighs on your mind and your thoughts
yeah.
after that experience. It's
I,
hard.
I was at a Grateful Dead concert once at the Oakland Coliseum, 60,000 people to see the Grateful Dead and Bob Dylan.
Wow.
And we were down in the front, about halfway between the soundboard and the stage. And in the middle of the concert, I had to go use the restroom. And it was such a big crowd. And just to walk through the crowd, this crowd of deadheads, probably most of them on LSD, and to
Right.
get up the ramp into the restroom and then find my way back to my friends, it was like an epic hero journey. It was like a psychic event. I was so disoriented just from
Yeah.
the vibes of all the people, just being in that crowd
Yeah. Yep.
of that many stoned people was like,
Yeah.
it was like slogging through the crowd. Like, this is never going to end. I'm never going to get to the edge of the crowd. And then I have to go
Yeah.
back. Oh my God.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, there's a lot of powerful energy going through a scene like that, I'm sure.
That was before remote viewing. That was 87. So that was 10 years before I was into it. What happened at some of those concerts opened me up to the idea of
Yeah.
telepathic and
Hmm.
consciousness. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Isn't it weird how these little things throughout your life led you to where you are now as you start to see that thread weave through it?
yeah. My life is sectioned off into before being a television newscaster,
Hmm.
and then being a television newscaster before Hawaii, and then being a television newscaster in my Hawaii experience,
Hmm.
and then becoming a remote viewer in 97, and
Yeah.
being a remote viewer after 1997 was a whole different trajectory. I'm a completely
Yeah.
different person that I never would have dreamed of uh,
Right.
30, 40 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
So,
like the stuff right out of a science fiction book. I watch these movies now and I read these books and it's like, oh, this person, they know what they're talking about. They got the experience right, or they didn't get the experience right. It's been a wild journey, hasn't it?
I'm outlining a book right now, a
Uh,
remote viewing novel. Yeah, I've got a really good.
uh,
I've got a
that's
remote
exciting.
viewer that a Romanian guy gets a hold of him and says, "I'll pay you a certain amount of Bitcoin to do a target for me." He goes, "I don't
Hmm.
know you. I'm not going to work with this." Well, I can sweeten the offer. There's a there's an electronic stimulation that the military was using to make remote viewers like 10 times better, and I've got a copy of it. If I give it to you, you work a target for me. And so the remote viewer goes, okay. And so he's working targets for this guy using an augmentation that makes him a super remote viewer. And so he's
Yeah.
getting data in, and I won't say what it is he's working, but it's something really important that has to do
Yeah.
with like reverse engineering
Hmm.
certain things. And then when he gets his data, the Romanian brings a Chinese woman in, and she translates his session into Chinese, and then they pay him all
Hmm.
this money. And he has to figure out what the hell is really going on here. And he gets into
Yeah.
this international shit show of extortion, messing around with intelligence agencies and data that's not supposed to be known. And it's going to be a good story. It's a fun
Oh, that's
story. I've
fun.
been
I
thinking
can't wait
about it.
for that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good for you. That's
I
awesome, Dick.
Lon Vo, the psychic, told me to write a book. She goes, "You got to write a
Yeah.
book." And so I
That's
was
great.
thinking, I have one book in me that's my story, like my
Hmm.
journey through remote viewing. I've got a
Yeah.
million war stories. Like, the time I remote viewed this, and then this happened,
Yeah.
and all the interesting people and things we've done. But the novel, and it'll all be made. Well, it'll be based on some experience that I've had, but the character and the
Yeah.
thing, it's going to be fun. So there's these tones, and the Romanian says, just to say the name of what this file is, they would kill you. Would be killed if you even said this in public. It's that
Wow.
secret. Like,
Yeah.
but I'll let you, when you use it, and the guy uses it, and the target just blossoms. He goes full experiential. Usually he goes,
Yeah.
that's what I've been waiting for as a remote viewer my whole life. And they go, okay,
Right.
well, we can't let you have it. Where'd you get it? Don't even ask. Well,
Wow.
and so it's this shadowy Romania. It's going to be a good story.
That
I
sounds like a great story. I'm excited to hear that. That's
Yeah,
great. Good for you,
I
Dick.
need to outline it.
Hmm.
And who's the Chinese lady?
Hmm.
Her name is Fang, Lying, Fan
Hmm.
Lying. And is she a double agent? Is she a love interest? Or is
Yeah.
she a going to help him? Or is
Right.
she what? I haven't decided yet, but it'll be interesting. And so um,
Yeah.
it's we were Glenn was thinking of what he wanted to do was
Hmm.
write a book and have the remote viewers make up the plot by doing remote
Yeah.
viewing sessions. Like, okay, your target is 791
Hmm.
7913 3986. Work it in. And what the
Yeah.
target was, like, what happens next in the book.
Wow.
So he wants to
That's
have
really cool.
remote viewers create the plot by remote viewing. Wouldn't that be a fun?
That'll that'll mess with your head, because where like
But you
what
wouldn't
came
tell them,
first, the
right?
chicken or the egg? Right.
You wouldn't tell them what they were doing. So could you get somebody to do, like, say 15 sessions without feedback?
Yeah.
You say, like, what the hell was that? That was weird, man. That was this, and this guy was doing this. Seema said, well, that was good. Do the next target.
Yeah. Yeah. And just keep going until they have the book.
Yeah.
That's neat. I have a similar experience. Well, I wrote the last book I published. It was inspired by one of Edward's mysterious sessions. I gave a nod to him in that one, and then I'm working on part two. But I was doing one of my exploratory remote viewing sessions, and it said something about like tell your story. Use the book. I forget exactly what it was saying. And I went back and I looked through a series of sessions that I had done, and they just had all these really neat like spiritual based concepts, psychic concepts and stuff. And
Mm-hmm.
I was like, man, this would fit perfectly for
Yeah.
book two. And I've been taking these themes that I get in these sessions and working them into my characters and their experiences. So it's been a fun
So,
process.
so back to my original story. I had
Yeah.
that horrid panic attack in the newsroom, and I was a health reporter at the time. And I thought, that's a really interesting story. I'm going to do a story. I did a segment for the 10 o'clock news. Like, Dick has a panic attack. And I said, yeah, I was at the
Yeah.
station, and I was like, the world was ending and I was dying and I'm in shape. But and the doctor told me I had a panic attack. And then I interviewed doctors about anxiety disorder and all this. And we promoted it and did a series on it for the news. And people were going like, "Oh, that's so brave of you to talk about that." And I thought, I didn't think so. Is that something I'm not supposed to talk about? They said, "Oh, that was real brave of you. Like you're admitting mental health." I go, I don't think I have a mental health. Was that a mental health problem? I just had a physical reaction to some chemical or something, is what it felt like to me. I didn't think I was crazy.
It's hard. Mental health, I think, is really bad in the United States. I have some personal experience with friends and family, and a lot of experience also as a police officer and then as a teacher. And it's hard to find people, number one, who understand and care that a mental health issue is just like a physical illness, but we don't treat it that way. It's like, oh, you're making a choice. Just stop acting this way.
Yeah.
And it's not a choice. I mean, the stuff I deal with, I know in my head, like, hey, I'm being irrational right now, but it doesn't change the racing thoughts that I'm having or the physiological response I'm having. And, I've seen people go to crisis centers where they don't get treated fairly, they don't get treated the right way, or they get released too soon, and then next thing you know, they're committing suicide or attempting suicide. Or the wait lists to get mental health support, or to get, I had a kid severely mentally ill years ago, and like he was ready to shoot up the school. Like he was 100% ready to do it, and to get him out of there and to get him help so he wouldn't do this, and he still never got the help he needed. It took like a month or two to even get someone to acknowledge. And I'm sitting here going like, I'm a former cop. Like, this is what I'm seeing. This is what we have. Here's all the evidence of it. And I still had a hard time getting this kid help. So it's for those of you that deal with this, stay the course, get on all the wait lists you need to get on, talk to whoever you need to talk to. But you really have to advocate or have someone who advocates for you, because it's such a complex system right now.
Yep. Well, we're going through some hard times, and this is a once in a millennium switchover of our civilization, I'm afraid. So there's going to be some stress. So hang in there, everybody. We're here with you. I bet we get an email from at least one or two people that'll go, "God, you guys, thanks for talking about that." Because we're a couple of big, strong, smart men. When I was having a panic attack, and people say, "Well, just relax, just take a deep breath." I'm like, you don't understand.
You can't, we, in this one, I'm a trainer for, a system for dealing with people in crisis. And one of the things we train people is like, never tell someone to calm down. When has that ever worked in your life? But someone's upset and you say, "Calm down." And they go, "Oh, that's all I needed." It's not that easy to just turn it off.
I talked to a counselor that counseled people with panic attacks. So how do you do that? He goes, "I would ramp myself up and get just as I would come up to their level." "Yeah, it is. Yeah. Oh, I know. Yeah. Okay." They wouldn't try to calm them down. They would go try to achieve their level of anxiety. Like, I understand. Yeah, I get it. Yeah, it is. Oh, yeah, me too. And then they would slowly bring them down.
Yes. So you have to validate. Whatever they're experiencing, that's their experience right now. And if you come in there hot and heavy, you're just going to ramp it up. I've talked a lot of people down, and I come in and I say, "What are you experiencing? What's wrong?" "Oh, they're coming through my windows. They're coming." "Okay, all right. How can I help you with that?" Instead of saying, "You're nuts. That's not." No, they're experiencing that right now. Validate it and let them work through it while you're supporting them, as opposed to like screaming at them and amping it up. It's very helpful.
Well, okay, Dennis. It's always great talking with you, man.
Good conversation. Final question, Dick. What do you do? What do you recommend for managing mental health overall? That's our last question I'll ask you. What do you recommend? Just staying grounded.
Swim in the Pacific Ocean. Meditate every day. Mm-hmm. I do meditate. Play guitar. Mm-hmm. So I actually work really hard, like a little bit too much. I've got remote viewing, YouTube, interviews, podcasts. I edit a lot of stuff. I'm been handling the business at Future Forecasting, like all the billing and everything. So I sometimes get up at 6 a.m. because I'm in Hawaii and it's already midday in the US mainland. My inbox is already, I got 10 things I've got to immediately jump on. Like demands my immediate attention. So I'm going from 6 a.m. about 7:30, I go swim, come back, and then I'm doing YouTube. I'm working all afternoon into the evening, but by evening, I shut everything down. I take out my guitar and I play slack key guitar. That and meditate.
That's great.
Having good family and friends, talking with people.
Yeah.
If any one of us were just doing this remote viewing and the crypto targets and the future stuff alone, as you well know, when we have our debriefs, just the post chit chat, and we started recording those, just the shooting the shit is very valuable.
To laugh with your friends in the face of a hard time really makes all the difference in the world.
I make my wife laugh. I was she said something to me as I was having a hard time the other night. I was real dizzy and I was having an anxiety attack and I was just not comfortable. And my wife said, "Well, do you want me to give you some money?" Or she was going to make me something to eat or something. She goes, "Can I do this?" And I said, "Okay." And the way I said it just broke her up. She just laughed. And we laughed for like a good 2 minutes, laughing.
Such a good relief. It really is. It really is.
It breaks
that's
the
great.
spell.
That's a good point. It really does. I do a lot of similar things. I meditate, I do yoga every day, and I write, and I try to laugh too. So
do something silly for your kids and make them laugh.
Always. I make them laugh every day. They know that I'm the one that's the silly one and always being goofy with them.
There you go.
It helps. It's a big deal. So
all right.
Yeah. Well, Dick, thank you. It was a great conversation as always. To those of you that are watching or that are listening, feel free to comment. What experience do you have? How do you deal with things for stress relief and dealing with mental health? It's okay if you're going through that. Many of us do, and it's okay to talk about it. And you can check out our work at futureforecastinggroup.com. Every so often we have, I'm not sure when we're running the next one, but a 7-day free trial. You can get in and you can see all the great content that we have out there, on the show. So definitely check us out, futureforecastinggroup.com, with some of the world's best remote viewers. And not only that, they are entertaining to watch. So check us out, especially Dick. Dick, thank you so much, my friend. It was a great
Dennis, always great talking with you, man. We've been through a lot together, and we've forged quite a friendship through all that. So it's always good.
We have. Thankful for it. Okay. All right,
Aloha.
Dick. Well, thank you very much. And on behalf of the Future Forecasting Group, I'm Dennis Nappi II. Thanks for watching.